Welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. That's right, I'm your host, the whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and this is June 19, 2019. Welcome to the tape show, right? And what we're going to do today, we have a few things that we will be talking about. We got a black woman who was killed in Chicago at a Walgreens. And we will look at the perspective of that and see what rationales could have been dealt with in a different or better situation. Did you hear about the viral suntan tattoos that some people out here doing? Says a little, getting out of hand where it's very dangerous. We'll be looking at that as well. Caster Semenya, right? Caster Semenya, an Olympian, who they want to say, based on her testosterone, might have been born a woman, but science wants to say she's a man. At least the IAAF says. We'll look into that. Race science is on the rise. Did anybody know that? That race science is on the rise. Stemming all the way back from the beginnings of colonization are still rearing its head today in 2019. We should see an article on that. Did you hear about the individual name, I think his name is Mo Wagner, that plays for the Los Angeles Lakers? Well, he did something that was a little questionable. And again, when you look at that, again, people can make mistakes. But they say the apple don't fall from the tree. In the case of maybe not being the parent, we may say just the ideal in itself. We may take a look at that. Mitch McConnell, did you hear what he said? No, Mitch McConnell said some things that might be a little bit like, well, same old, but they act like this different. Well, we're going to look at what Mitch McConnell said. Well, do you know that black poverty is rooted in real estate? Yeah, black poverty is rooted in real estate. Well, I got an article that talks about that, and we should look at that. And I tried, maybe not. There was something that was said in the continent by a sister who I think when you hear these words, they will give you more insight, understanding as to what has taken place on the continent, what continues to go on, and why it is a must that we must find some unity amongst us. Well, this will be the shows for today, and prepare to get ready. June 19, 2019. There's again what we say. This show is to report, articulate, insinuate, transmit by news, video, websites, and quotes from publication. As I, your whiteologist, ask that the creator of the universe be here, heart, soul, mind, and spirit. Ask that he be present. Why? Because we, the BADOS, Black Americans Descendants of Slaves, ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves, we give honor to our ancestors. Why? Because they built the greatest country that you call the United States. That the luxury and opulent life that many have, but those who gave the most and the descendant of their siblings and children and generations after do not bear. You know what my motto is? Never gonna tell you what I heard. I'm only gonna tell you what I know. Welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. So I is your host, Mr. Blows Your Minds, the whiteologist. And welcome to the retape show that you can't see live until 88 days. Let me get that right. 88 days, I shall be back live. Now, again, want to thank first and foremost for those who should be subscribers. What's good, fam? Thank you for your support. I see that the numbers are now half than 100. We can only get about 50 now. But see, they want you to believe that a man with a show that make sure it can't get to 3,000 again. I'm not in this business about popularity. I'm not in this business for really subscribership. And I don't get no check from YouTube, right? Don't get no money from them, right? But they do all out their way to make sure this little channel here is so suppressed. Now again, you have your scholarly and your PhDs, and they're talking about the things they're talking about. But what is it that Black Minds News talk about that they want to stuff him in the corner and make sure he's not to be heard? Now, a lot of you might be too sophisticated to just think, well, that's just race talk or whatever, but you ain't figured it out yet, and maybe you won't ever figure it out. But those who are chosen, be able to hear the words and the stories, not so much about what I'm saying, because all I do again on this show is give you articles of news, relate things in life from my perspective and experience, and try to break it down and talk as commonly and plain. See, a lot of times being too scholarly and too, again, I don't have nothing against somebody being educated, but a lot of times you're trying to find the right words to say it in a poetically prose way, and then you never get directly to it. See, when you speak straight, talk straight, you're straight like an arrow being shot from a bow, and it's going straight directly to its target. Ain't no ifs, ands, and buts about it. So maybe that's what it might be, that it might be too straight of a talk where everybody else has seemed to be going around the bush. So welcome, fam. You who support this show, pass it by, you should be having to come by. Again, this is the most hated show on the black corner of the internet. Do you think you could go to any channel and see that a show that's been around over 7 years, going on 8 years, they can't get past 50 to 100 views? Used to could get 300,000, 50,000, 20, 30, 40,000. I have those videos, but guess what? All those videos, somehow, after getting those kind of numbers, all of a sudden you want to ban the videos. Okay? You want to ban the videos. So what you do, you try to cut all them out and try to keep all the other ones that you've been suppressing, and then say, look, no one's looking at him. Yeah, with your help. See, that's how I know the power relies in who? So let's get on to the show and welcome. And again, this is always a grand opening over here. You can go down the aisle, see something you like. You dislike something, that's okay, because again, I got somebody who's a serial person who wants to go around every time I make a video, he want to put the dislike on there. So that's that rock that I'm throwing in the crowd of dogs. When you take a rock in a crowd of dogs and you throw it, the only dog that's going to yell is the one that's going to get hit. And this one here is going to keep showing and rearing his head. I offer you that you can actually, you see the number on there? I'll give you a time. Matter of fact, you can give me a time. And when you can have this conversation on this show, you can call in and you can let out your grievance to why you believe that every time I put out some content, it go out your way. If I seen something that I didn't like, I'm not going back over there. But obviously you keep coming because why? You like getting hit with that rock because that truth is telling you something nobody else won't tell you. So anyway, let's get it going. Now, again, so much is always going on because, again, we live in a place that just seems to be like a never-ending story because of the fabric, the DNA of the country is interwoven with an energy and spirit. And it cannot die with policies and training. It has to be a spirit that has to be taken over on the individual who are the culprits, and they have to do a complete change. Without the change, everything else is just a formality of trying to dress up and put sugar on shit, as they would say. So you want to put sugar on shit and serve it in a plate and tell me that it's ground beef and think I'm supposed to eat it and take it and I understand what you're giving me, right? So let's get into it, right? I'm going to get too deep now. Let's get into this. We got some show. I want to get on and get out because I got another show to do. Remember, I'm a day behind. Didn't do yesterday being, today, the show that you're seeing is actually the 19th, but the day I'm doing is actually the 20th. I'm going to do the 20th show after I do this show, right? So, again, being June 19th, should be those who are talking about, Juneteenth, right? And the commemorative those from Texas. Because, again, that's not like the entirety of those who come out that were supposedly emancipated, right? Juneteenth isn't for everybody, but we celebrate because, again, as in kinship and family about what done happened in history, we will give honor recognition to it. But primarily, this is for people who come out of the Texas, think about it, that they want to talk about. And again, I got to, there's something again with that Mitch Connell said that I will come back later on and talk about the whole aspect of, Juneteenth. So let's get into the show. And let me start with this here. Do we condone people robbing, stealing, killing? No. Can people, if you should happen to, this be a situation that you yourself figure out as a way to relieve whatever situation you are in, and you should, be on either side, whether you are the one who becomes the thief or you become the one who apprehends the thief. Are there ways where you can deal with a situation that can, again, as we talked about on the prior show about the Dow with the little girls and how the police, in my opinion, in my view of looking at an experience, were being very, aggressive for a situation that really did not merit that, right? And we constantly, again, for me, who's a ferocious reader of news and other things as well, but you see there's a constant pattern that things that seem to be minor are taken in the sense of to be major. When it's something minor that could actually be a meeting of the minds of the individual, the seriousness of the situation may not merit the excessiveness that on the behalf of that who might be apprehended. So, again, as I said before, a pull-up culture. Right? You learned your pull-upness through the simple fact that you learned from that which taught you this culture that you say pull up. Right? A kill culture, a trophy hunter culture. Right? And so now it's so now embedded in the fabric of the modern people of this time that it seems like situation that usually could be something that you could work out or, deal with in such a way that it should not come out that somebody should be losing their life over something very minuscule and minor. Well, this story here is a story of a mother of 5, right? Now, again, some people say, well, mother of 5. Well, that's the story they talking about. It's a mother of 5. But again, it's just the scenario, the situation. Again, black folks, you might be working somewhere. You might be a cop. Right? And again, understanding that we as black people, and again, the conversation is about reparations and about what our ancestors as being BADOS, again, Black American Descendant of Slaves, ADOS, some say American Descendant of Slaves. Being from that cut of the cloth of the people here in this United States, and when they talk about the wealth gap and how, many of us don't have generational or have not gained any generational wealth. There was nothing to pass on. People didn't have nothing. There's a lot of government institutionalized policies that have been set up that prohibit it. And then you're going to learn today in an article that I came across about how not only just that it was also other people allowed to take advantage of our situation. And so, again, with the despair, poverty, and poorness, some people will use certain situations to try to survive. Now, again, if I'm, starving and without, and here's a place that has plenty, yes, I can go and ask you, but I know that's not your policy to give. So maybe a person is thinking if I can slyly, sneakily be able to steal it, again, it's not to make it right, but I might be able to survive another day by whatever this is that I need in desperate situations. So you should get caught, and the person who you catch, again, should take this much that a person should lose their life. Well, let me show what I'm talking about, and we'll be right back. Check this out.
Overnight, a woman shot and killed inside a Walgreens in Chicago's Belmont-Cragin neighborhood.
CBS 2's Audrina Begas is live outside the store with what we know so far on this still developing story. Hi, Audrina.
Mike and Aaron, what a crazy and scary chain of events here. This shooting happened inside this Walgreens on Fullerton and Cicero, and police communication indicates that witnesses inside say the shooter claimed he was a Chicago police officer.
So they saying it's the highest security guard in the Walgreens that shot a female shoplifter.
The woman was inside the store around 11:30 last night when police say a man confronted her, and then they got into some type of physical fight. No word if they knew each other. Now, police say the man pulled a gun and shot her in the head before running out of the store and driving away in a dark-colored SUV. Now, witnesses say the man was wearing a red hooded sweatshirt and dark jeans and told everyone in the store he was an off-duty police officer. Here's what we heard on police radio calls.
Employee here, they said they do not have a security guard here. But witnesses said she did tell him that he claimed he was a Chicago police officer after he threw her to the ground and fired.
Right now, no one is in police custody, and the woman was pronounced dead overnight at Mount Sinai Hospital. Of course, we have so many questions about this crazy event inside of the Walgreens. We'll continue to ask those questions and follow the story and bring you more as soon as we know it. Live in the Belmont-Cragin neighborhood, Audrina Begas, CBS 2 News.
Mother of 5 killed at Walgreens for shoplifting. Family wants justice. She didn't deserve to be executed. You know I'm going to say that again. Mother of 5 killed at Walgreens for shoplifting. Family wants justice. She didn't deserve to be executed. This story is coming out of CBS. June the 14th, 2019, and this is how it reads. Chicago CBS. Angry family members say a 46-year-old mother of 5 who was shot and killed at a Belmont-Cragin Walgreens late Wednesday night did not deserve to die. Cersei Bernardo, whose family says she was disabled and unemployed, was on her way to see her boyfriend and was picking up some things from the store. Police says the Walgreens clerk suspected her of shoplifting and confronted her. A source told CBS 2 that the employees called a friend for help. He showed up with a gun and witnesses say claimed to be a police officer. After confronting Bernardo's, words turned into wrestling, which turned into a man shooting Bernardo in the head. He then ran off. She didn't deserve to be executed like that. He could have just held her for the police. He didn't have to shoot her in her face. she didn't have no weapon, and April Reed, Renado's sister. Police have not said if anyone is in custody. Walgreens has not responded to CBS 2 requests for comment Friday. Mother of 5 kids. Yeah, look like I'm having some technical difficulties. Some things that happen that shouldn't be happening. So I want to apologize for that. You know how it is. Sometimes these things just don't go according to the way you got it set up. So here it is. We have a story that's coming out of Chicago, out of a Walgreens. Looks like there is a woman who's about 46 years old. Her name seems to have been, let me make sure I get her name right there. Her name is Circe Bernardo, right? She was 46-year-old, mother of 5, was at a Belmont Cragen Walmart's late Wednesday night. According to the story, it says that on her way to see her boyfriend and was picking up some things from the store, and then they said that the Walmart clerk there had her, felt some suspicion about her, to the fact that I guess he ended up confronting her about it, and looks like somehow, according to the story, it says that he called a friend for help, and the individual was not there. So I'm trying to figure out, was he in the store, or did he get on the phone, or did he get on the speaker? And an individual comes in and tells the rest of the customers in the store that he is Popo. Everything cool, I'm Popo. Holds her down. Maybe she's resisting. Maybe, you know what I'm saying, she's struggling. And he pulls gun and shoots her in the head, kills her, right? Then he gets up and runs and he flees. So all that just sounds very suspicious, right? Don't sound like professionalism. The show don't sound like if this individual should be a police officer, that he broke, I guess, every protocol as a police officer. Now, again, we won't condone the fact that, again, a person, 46 years old, mother of 5, again, she had some situations in her life where she was unemployed, disabled, right? Do you know that in some states, and maybe states you in, that 40 years old is already considered to be, do you not know 40 is already considered to be an elder in a lot of states legally, right? So in Illinois, 40 is already considered to be, you already over 40 in this state. And so, you know, jobs don't want somebody who's seasoned. Think about that. You seasoned, working for a place, you know things, you understand how, you know, they don't really take so much of advantage of you because you understand, you know, policies, regulations, rules, laws, states, state laws, labor laws, understand all that. But somebody who's brand new and green, come in young, dumb, right? You know the whole thing, right? And they get taken advantage of, sometimes people working when they should be getting double time, they're only getting overtime, a lot of little slick shit that they be doing. So it's kind of a little hard, and then the scarcity of jobs in the city of Chicago, right? So, and you have a disability, so you might be getting some SSI, some things like that. And again, you're trying to live, trying to survive. Got rent to pay, got children, so forth. Today, children, champagne taste, we got water money. So, you still trying to have relations, right? Going to Walgreens again, like trying to be slick, try to slip something in, get in. Is there a better way that this could have ended? We all will agree that it would have been, right? It should have been, right? I understand as a person who, job is to, you're regulating, right? You're at the counter, right? You're regulating. I can give you a story. I always got a story, right? I remember one time I worked at this company, and I was younger at this time, and worked the cashier. And, what I'm saying, it was kind of a man shop, too. It was a man shop, you going in there and you're buying parts and, shit like that, right? So they had me at the front, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm up there. And, people would come in and, they come in with parts and then they would leave, like, so 'cause they could go back there. They might be getting some assistance or asking about, maintenance, or maybe they might be trading in something. I'm saying it could be a whole lot of things. Don't necessarily mean that somebody is taking something. So I remember one time an individual came in and he did something, and they came in front and said, "Well, that guy that just what? Did you even stop him? Like, what you talking about?" Like, well, he got somebody. Well, how I'm supposed to? Why y'all to pick up the phone and call me and say that somebody come in the front and got to be paying for something, right? Right. So I'm looking at, and the same thing I'm looking at also, the fact is, you don't pay me to be security. Now, again, sometimes people look at your stature and build and believe, well, I'm going to get 2 for 1. But I ain't, again, I'm telling like straight like a T.I. is. If I'm working some motherfucking where motherfucker coming in and rob motherfucker, here the money, here the rest of the money down here. You understand? That's replaceable. Or you better write that shit off. I ain't about to give my life for a job that will fire my ass tomorrow because I'm late for motherfucking 5 minutes late from lunch. You understand what I'm saying? Or call off a motherfucking mega. You know what I'm saying? You always walking a tightrope on a little ass string trying to maintain some shit, and then a motherfucker want to add some extra shit in your job title that also, remember, if a motherfucker come in there and doing some shit like that, you in their facility. They know you and your face is recognizable. You may not get a good glimpse of motherfucker do some shit and again, but you got to go home. You still got to walk the streets. That's why you pay for security. You understand? They ain't your job. So again, somebody walking up the store, you suspicion about, hey, you got something, they keep on, okay, pick up the phone. Call Popo. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I was at Walgreens, motherfucker walk up out of here, I think they got something. Let them handle it. You understand? But again, this is strange because they say, man, this is my boy. He got his boy come in there off the street. Looks like, seems like, smells like, and end up killing this woman. As you heard the story saying in the video, say she didn't deserve to die like that, executed. Right? She didn't deserve to die, whatever it was. Again, we talking about petty theft. You ain't getting no major shit of not no Walgreens. Now, you back there sticking up the goddamn pharmacist and grabbing up all the motherfucking Perkinsons and probably all that shit back there that motherfuckers in today. You know what I'm saying? Maybe, you know what I'm saying, they got SWAT waiting for your ass. But other than that shit, everything else in there can be written off. Because again, when they damage shit up in them stores, ain't they writing a lot of that shit off? Right? So why taking this, extreme when somebody do that? I understand it is, proper, just way of assessing and trying to, again, being a good employee. But some things you don't step out of the bounds. You just allow, again, whoever's call that is, if you got security, allow them to do it. I mean, you can, try to do what you can do and try to hit it. But again, you know what I'm saying? That now, again, either your homie is what he is. If not, you got a murder case now, right? All over it. Now, 2 people finna be all knocked off. She gone, and whoever this is, if he ain't Popo, he gone too, right? So, again, like I say, black folks, man, we got to start loving each other a lot better than what we doing. Understand, sympathize with your people. Understand what we going through, what we are going through, who we up against, and who constantly is designing shit to keep us in a fucked up ass position. When we going to start recognizing this shit? Certain things, again, what they say, don't sweat the small stuff. Some shit just like, man, okay, do just the proper protocols, but you ain't got to be all extensive doing out some extra shit that, again, if the shoe was on the other foot, you understand? Obviously, you must be desperate that you're going to do this shit, and you're going to do this shit in front of me, so, again, I'm just going to do the proper protocol. That's what my job entails me to do. Anything extra than that shit ain't in my job description, that ain't for me to do. And if they don't have it, then that's your problem. You understand? But, you know, a lot of time people be working in places and they act as if like the motherfucking job is their goddamn company. You ever want to work with a motherfucker like that? Acting like, because they got some little title, they in there talking like what Malcolm said, we sick, boss. Our house on fire, boss. And then when the motherfuckers get fired, your ass sick than a motherfucker because you did all this extra extended shit thinking that this is going to make you a good employee, but you expendable. Look it up. You expendable. Right? Now, I'm not saying that. I'm not talking. I'm just somebody who should not know what the word expendable is. You expendable. Man, you replaceable. Right? Even if Mr. Blood might working there and I could do the job in 9 times out of 10, I was 4 or 5 men. You understand? So replacing me, I'm doing a job on so many other motherfuckers that when a motherfucker like me leave, you understand? Everybody know, goddamn, that nigga was doing all kind of motherfucking work up in here. Now we hurting. See, that's a valuable motherfucker but see, sometimes people who are very valuable in places, you know, due to you be threatening to somebody who know you could probably do the job better than them, which is probably your supervisor, your manager, and so forth, right? They see who you is, your ethics, your work ethics, and so forth, and they're threatened by it. So they got to either keep you suppressed or get your ass up out of there, right? So again, understand who we as a people, what we go through, and then sometimes our people do what they do, just do the proper protocols. You know what I'm saying? Don't sweat the small shit. Because again, her life is gone. Them children done lost their mama. She did the best she could. Now, what's going to happen now? So it just created a whole mess that's going to now, later on, this effect will ripple later down in the future with them children. You understand? So think about it, man. We out here, man. Think about it. Other folks, if that's what you want to do, you do that. But I'm just saying, when it comes to our people, man, come on. We got to look at this shit a little bit better. All right, so this story here, I'm going to go and do this here. I don't know, my shit has seemed to be a little bit off target today. It's going the wrong motherfucking way for some reason. And I don't know if I even got to add something else to this shit, but I guess I don't got it, right? I guess I should have did that already, but it's okay. Put these two here. 1 and 2. All right, so this story here, right, is just for the simple fact that, let's do this first. Hold on. Let's do this first. Go back over here. Y'all probably seeing a little bit in the screen. There you go. All right, so, this story here is just the simple fact that, again, it's a public service announcement in one aspect, and then another aspect is, again, it becomes the question, right, that one must ask itself when you're in our position, right? Because, again, especially us being here as BADOS, Black American Descendant Slaves, or ADOS, or however you want, African American. Some people may call themselves African Americans, right? Some, whatever, but you know what I'm talking about. We as black people, right? And how the programming mechanisms, the machinations that have been, stealthily designed and inculcated in our minds, that we see the fruition, the sickness, a lot of stuff that be happening. And a lot of the programming that people done social engineered a lot of our people to be the way they move. So if you see something like this, right, this right here, how do you look at this? Do that tells you something about you and tell you something about somebody else? Now, the story is going to say in one aspect this way, but again, you have to say, well, damn, how could this be so if you say what you claim you is? What are you talking about, Mr. Blowman? Well, check this out. Be right back. Check this out. The viral sunburn tattoo trend is seriously dangerous. Here's why. You know I'm going to say that again. The viral sunburn tattoo trend is seriously dangerous. Here's why. This story is coming out of Health, June the 10th, 2019, and this is how it reads. Every now and then, a viral trend comes along that poses a major health threat. Remember when people were eating Tide Pods? This newest internet fad is no different. Sunburn tattoos are the latest viral hit that you should never, ever try. Seriously, never. To get a sunburn tattoo, people put stencils on their skin and then head out to soak in the sun without any sunscreen. When you remove the stencil, you will have a sunburn-shaped design on your skin, like a temporary tattoo. To get a better idea of what we're talking about, check out the photos below of a man who sunburned the Batman logo onto his chest. Other sunbathers do the inverse and use a stencil to hide some skin from the sun while burning the surrounding areas. So it looks like harmless summer fun, but no matter how you spin it, sunburn tattoos are extremely dangerous and can put you at serious risk of skin cancer. In order for the stencil or tattoo to be apparent, you would have to damage the surrounding tissue enough that it either tans heavily or burns. Rachel Nazarian, MD, a New York-based dermatologist and fellow of the American Academy of Dermatology. Both tanning and sunburning the skin is detrimental to your health. There are signs that the skin is receiving ultraviolet radiation with mutation potential, which increases your skin to developing skin cancer and accelerates skin aging, meaning more wrinkles, sunspots, and loss of collagen, which causes sagging skin, she continues. Help also spoke with Deborah Jollyman, MD dermatologist and assistant clinical professor of dermatology at Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City, who had a similar take. Purposely keeping the area's sunscreen feel-free will do harm to the DNA in your skin cells. Dr. Jelliman says, not only will you cause permanent skin aging, but you will also be putting yourself at risk for skin cancer. So listen to these dermatologists and skip the sunburn tattoo fad. Instead, show your skin lots of love by wearing sunscreen every single day, no exception. To make sure you're properly protected, apply sunscreen about 30 minutes before you're going to be in the sun and savor it on those less obvious body spots like your lips, feet, eyelids, and underarms. You should always wear at least SPF 15 and reapply every 80 minutes. All right. So, see that they have some little fad out there about these sunburn tattoos, right? And, you know how with this internet and this social media that, again, like they were talking about in the article, talking about eating the Tide Pods, right? The little thing looked like it could be candy, right? and they're actually eating these mugs, right? Not knowing that, how toxic and poisonous this stuff is, but making a fad and a trend. And so, again, when you see that they're taking stencils, now those, I don't know if they, when we was in school, we had the stencils, outlines, and you could put on the paper, and they taking the stencil and going out in the sun and baking to get the image imprinted on their skin. Now, we know as black people that would never work, right? You wouldn't be able to say, how baked you would have to be to get that, depending on the shade of melanin that you have, right? In order for that. But again, a person who is, there's 6 types, I think, right, of melanin, right? And I think they're more like 1 and 2, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And so with these type 1s and 2, the sun is very detrimental to these individuals, right? And again, those who've been, watching for the show for some period of time, I did a video where it showed what really is, they talking about this SPF 15, right? And matter of fact, did you hear say you had to put it on every 80 minutes, huh? Right? You constantly got to keep putting that on. So that's only good for an hour and 20 minutes. They thought about that, right? So here it is when you look at what sunscreen is, really it is? They actually that's black facing. That's all that is. Sunscreen is nothing but covering up their white skin using a black to reflect the sun off of their skin. Because for some odd reason, white folks in the sun, it's like oil and water. They don't mix, right? So, again, as I made the video, White Extinction, and it talked about the conversation that Nicodemus was having with Jesus in the Bible, right? It was that story in there, right? It was talking about if a man was to be reborn again, how could he be reborn again? Because, again, they made reborn as a way to talk about, giving your life over to and so forth. But according to the story, it said you have to go back and be reborn. You got to go back into the original to come out so that you, again, who have this would be considered a deficiency, right? I mean, we have to just be 100 about it, right? If the sun, which is natural to this planet, and the sun itself does something that is damaging to you, that you have to protect yourself from it, then you as a black person have to ask yourself, what's illogical about this, right? There's something not natural in this, right? Now, we've seen black people that say, well, black people are getting melanoma and stuff like that. Okay, but again, you got to remember, there's been a milking. A lot of people may look a certain way, but genetically you may find out they may not be as who you think they are, right? Again, I did some videos where I showed the, aspect, again, showing you the science that there is the whole science to that whole thing, right? And again, I think I showed Halle Berry and her children and who she met and how the children ended up looking, right? And then you had Wesley Snipes, who is would consider to be a very heavily melanated individual, but when he had his baby with who he had with, the babies don't have no real, hold up from his gene pool, right? So I said maybe the question, the fact that maybe he ain't is what we think he is, right? Right. So anyway, again, that's just questionable. But the point is, the melanin in itself is a natural. Let's say if you're putting on suntan, right, or sunscreen, right, then black folks actually have a natural sunscreen blocker or absorbent where it doesn't affect the organs and everything. But see, again, who told them this fad? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like vaping and how they came back later on with the epidemic that they're talking about with their drug epidemic. It's like, who's introducing this stuff that might be trying to wipe you off? See, but you're so mad at us, right? You're so focused at us, but it seems like other people are implementing shit to try to knock you off. Because see, if you look at that young man that had that Batman, he done burnt up his whole damn, you know what I'm saying? That's his whole chest, heart. You understand? You don't know how much irreparable damage he done to himself, right? And you see, they literally, they want to fall, they want to be cool, they want to, get all that stuff. But I'm just saying, we as black folks looking at this and understanding this, that the sun, it's kind of like when they show those old movies with Dracula and the vampires. See, Dracula can't stand the sun because why? When you go back to, again, Wesley Snipes and about the movie, wasn't it about getting the blood so that they could be day walkers, right? So again, it seemed like somebody don't have the proper mechanisms to absorb the natural rays of the sun, because black people love the sun. We the people of the sun. But we can see that these other people, this is very detrimental, as the article talks about. And they have to keep reapplying this black blockage, which is when they in it. Again, I have a video they show when they put it on, they are in blackface, right? They're in blackface. So again, as much as they make you to feel inferior about who you are, then ask yourself, if I'm superior and that's what I have to do, then I don't understand what superior means. It can't be as into biology, because the sun in itself has a detrimental effect on you, but don't have the same on me. Like the sun, it'd be like kind of like, I don't want to say hate, but we're going to just say it has detriment to you, right? So again, I just brought that for them, so some information that might be out there that y'all didn't know that they're doing out here. STENCIL tattoos and basically killing themselves at the same time. So again, you heard it here, Black Minds News. So, again, I did this story earlier when it first kind of broke. And, the reason why I did is because, again, like I said, like we're talking about here, the naturalness, right? Natural, sun is natural to the planet, right? And it seemed like everything that seemed to be natural, people who have a hatred or be in opposition to what is nature or natural, try to alter it and tries to play God from the perspective of where they're coming from, right? And here's a prime example to show you that, when we look at this story here and look at the article, what it's going to say, it shows that, I had to do that because I didn't know I was doing that. My fault, y'all. It shows that, I'm going to set this up too. Hold on. It shows that, all right, put this here and go here. All right. It shows that, again, as I'm saying, that somebody has a little opposition and then they say things that tell you you are who you are versus other people. And they want to alter it to make it balanced so there's a natural competition from their perspective. What you talking about, Mr. Blood? Well, check this out. We'll be right back.
There is a growing backlash over a landmark ruling against Olympic gold medalist Caster Semenya. The sports world's highest court ruled yesterday that Semenya must take medication to reduce her unusually high testosterone level if she wants to compete. The court called its decision on the South African runner acceptable discrimination. Well, Deborah Pata is in Johannesburg and shows us the growing support for Semenya. Deborah, good morning.
Good morning. South Africans are rallying behind Caster Semenya, with many saying she's being punished for being too fast and not conforming to Western standards of what a female athlete should look like. For 10 years, Caster Semenya has been trying to outrun a global controversy that's threatened to cut her career short. The two-time Olympic champion has repeatedly been forced to verify her gender and battle claims that her naturally elevated testosterone gives her an unfair advantage. The ruling bans women athletes like Semenya with testosterone levels above the average female range from running distances up to a mile unless they take potentially harmful medication to reduce that testosterone. Law professor Steve Cornelius says this is immoral. So immoral, he resigned last year from the IAAF in protest.
You're actually taking a healthy person and turning that person into a patient.
Hormone specialist Dr. Shira Grock says testosterone is not the only factor affecting sporting performance.
I would say that, having a higher testosterone would be a similar advantage to having a long arm span or a long torso in swimmers.
Preposterous and regressive is how three-time Winter Olympian Ilana Mayers-Taylor described the decision.
If you say Caster Semenya or women like her have a great advantage because of their testosterone level, well, what about Michael Phelps? He has longer arms, or he has a better lung capacity, or he's got feet like flippers. Does that mean we shouldn't allow him to compete?
Sporting heavy hitters like tennis legends Billie Jean King and Martina Navratilova have also weighed in, condemning the ruling as unfair. But there are others, such as British Olympic swimmer Sharon Davies, who've been vocal in their criticism of Semenya.
I think it's really important that CAS have realised that actually we need to start protecting female sport, that it has to be a level playing field.
Semenya's response has been brief and dignified. For a decade, the IAAF has tried to slow me down, but this has actually made me stronger, she said. There's no doubt Semenya has a rare genetic ability, one she once celebrated, not penalised.
And on that issue, the World Medical Association has joined the debate, urging doctors around the world not to implement the IAAF regulations because they say they are medically unethical. Gail?
All right, Deborah Pata, thank you, reporting from Johannesburg.
IAAF claimed Olympian Caster Semenya was biologically male in court battle? You know I'm going to say that again. IAAF claimed Olympian Caster Semenya was biologically male in court battle. This story comes out of the Daily Beast, June the 19th, 2019, and this is how it reads. According to documents released Tuesday, the governing body of track reportedly argued that Olympic champion Caster Semenya was biologically male due to her testosterone levels, despite being legally identified as female at birth. The Associated Press reports the Court of Arbitration for Sports ruled against Semenya's challenge of the IAAF's testosterone regulations, which would mandate that she and other female Olympians reduce their testosterone through medical means. The organization claims Semenya and others had differences of sex development that gave them unfair advantages in the female competitive field. There are some contexts where biology has to trump identity. The IAAF said Semenya, in her challenge to the rules, told the court the IAAF claiming she was not a woman hurt her more than she could put in words, and subjected her to the most profound and humiliating experience of my life. The Olympian, who said the medical procedures would take away her genetic gifts, also told the court she agreed to take testosterone-reducing medication between 2010 and 2015, but endured numerous negative side effects. I would not allow the IAAF to use me and my body again, Semenya said in a statement Tuesday. All right, so we back, right? Those again who are avid watchers of this show have been watching for some period of time. Remember, I originally did this, right, about Semenya, right? All right, so we see that again, Caster Semenya is an Olympian from South Africa. She's currently, I think she's a world champion in that, right? Until they kind of had this trying to actually hold her back, right? And so what we see is that Caster Semenya is fighting against the IAAF and been going through a series of court proceedings. And then I think the last one that they went out on Tuesday released, it was documents that they said they had been released on Tuesday. They claimed that Caster Semenya was biologically male, right? Biologically male. Wait a minute. Due to her testosterone levels. Now, again, here is science, or again, as the video said, Western science. And I want you to keep that in mind. Western science is trying to regulate, talking about fair. What do you mean by that? So you get to actually say that gifts that are given, again, we're talking about natural, going back to the story prior, right? Where, the sun is a natural phenomenon and element in this, inhabitants that we call Earth. And for certain people, the sun doesn't have the kind of detrimental effect as it does on other folks. So, well, the people who don't have effect, are they unnatural? And the one that does have it is natural? I mean, is that how we to look at this? Or is it the other way around, that there's something not natural in another individual? And so what you want to do is regulate and try to really say that, again, spiritual people, right? We're spiritual people by our existence, right? We have reverence to the Creator. We talk about ancestors, and then there's a camaraderie with being black. As much as we say that is a just unity amongst us, but we can rally together when it's a common thing that we all understand and know. And that's when we normally show our power and our dominance, because at certain times, let's just say, for instance, people will talk about the O.J. Simpson case, but black people supported not O.J., but the system and what it was doing, right? And there's some people who even say that they believe he did it. Now, again, it depends on how you view and how you looked at it. And again, as you've been on this channel, you've seen I laid it out where the woman Deutsch told you straight out that none of the stuff, no evidence, nothing matched, right? Nothing. And even though you had the individual Mark Furman who said what he said, right? Then you had Michael Jackson. Now, everybody might have been agreeing to what they had accused him of and weren't sure about how that formulated and what was really said. And again, black people collectively supported the issue. What happened? Now, see the same thing we can look at when you say Bill Cosby. Because some things that Bill Cosby had said and it ruffles a lot of black people, so he didn't have the unification of black people when he was going through what he was going through. Yes, black people understood and knew there was a lot of bullshit, but then because of the conflict between some things, and then, you know what I'm saying, you didn't get the unification. And so they was able to do what they were able to do. So there is a element in us when we unify, because I think there was a story that one time somebody was telling me, or I heard, where they said that, I remember one, they was talking about back maybe in the 70s, where, I'm not sure where it was. It was maybe New York or something like that. They were talking about shutting out all black people lights and stuff. And black people worried and all this other stuff. And it was getting close to winter. And because of the wariness of black folks, somehow reason it couldn't get cold. It kept saying hot. You know what I'm saying? Messing up everything. So they had to give in, and then, is what it is, right? So I'm saying in this case here's a committee or this kind of little institution, IAAF, who gets to regulate and says, well, this woman who is born naturally as a woman, that you say that the testosterone, that she has too much. So she would be considered under your standards. You understand? You didn't create nothing. You're only trying to understand it and trying to figure out how to way to manipulate it for the benefit of yourself. But that which who created this as a gift to make who this person is going to be, it's like saying, well, if Michael Jordan was to tell you what he did as a kid and you emulated everything he did, but you still may not be able to get the same result he got because he got the gift that he got. LeBron and everything else that you want to take, and Muhammad Ali. You understand? People get gifts that cannot be regulated by some institution or some motherfucking committee. But this is, again, Western science in the mind of the white man who believe that he somehow, with his Frankenstein ass, think that everything he can regulate and, create to his liking and his taste. So you see that SEMENYA was like, at one time, she was down with it. I think from like 2010 to 2015. She said, well, it was having a lot of side effects. Well, we know Western science shit is synthetic. You understand? Think about all the commercials that come on. So you take this, is good for this, but then all the side effects, long list of damn rest of the commercial is all the shit you're going to get on the side effect. Meaning your shit ain't perfect. But when you take the shit natural in nature, it don't have no side effect. It does exactly what it's supposed to do with no side effect. You want to replicate that. Right? It's kind of like the story Prometheus. You want to steal fire from the God, and so you think you can become God. Even if you understood the playbook, you still wouldn't be able to do it. See? And so you want to take somebody's DNA. Now think about this, folks. A lot of y'all give y'all DNA to them. And just like they do with her, they studying it and testing it and trying to figure it out and break it down. Because again, talking about melanin conference, right? Them melanin conference been going on for so long, but black people ain't even in there. And they studying melanin. They used to call it junk DNA, right? But melanin is the elixir, the God mix is what I'm gonna say. It's the creator mix, right? And so, it varies in different shades and colors. And has different gifts according to, again, the lineage that you come from. They ain't going to be you regulating and taking something to take away from me to make it to your liking so that, again, you might be taking the same stuff. And again, how did this steroids come about? What was all this steroids? Did niggas make up steroids? Or did y'all create the steroids to give you, again, so you can have an advantage? To see on the natural, man up, mani a mano, what happens? That's why the whole game has to always be rigged. You have to always have the advantage because on the natural, we're going to win majority of the time. So we see that, again, they sat there and really defamated her character, right? They defamed her character by saying that she is, a woman under their standards biologically. Yet this woman has been born as a woman with everything. It ain't got nothing to do with her testosterone. If she don't have a penis and can't procreate life, and unless you can say she had a penis and had this surgically removed, there's no way you can classify this woman as biologically a man under some, again, just like people talking about IQ tests. Well, again, you create the test, but on some standards, in some way, you formulate it. And because most of us can't get those certain type of levels, then that seems that we are not as smart as you, but it's your test. If black folks made a test under the way they do stuff and stuff, you think you could pass because you think we that stupid. I beg to, I ain't gonna tell you what I heard, I'm gonna tell you what I know. You wouldn't pass the motherfucker. You couldn't find a genius among you. So you saturate us with this Western ideology and then try to say how you're superior. Nothing you do is superior. Everything you do, it has to be some slant design or, you're trying to regulate it. Trying so that it can't do what it do. It's kind of like, man, if I got to take the Michael Jordan situation once again. Michael Jordan was player of the year, freshman and sophomore year in college, right? Left by junior year, right? Right? So, but his coach, Dean Smith, had a leash on him. He didn't allow him to do the stuff because soon the minute he got that leash let off and he got into the pros, he was the best player there in the pros right off the bat. Came right in. So if he was doing that then, how come he wasn't doing it? He was still killing. That's why he played, a year in college. But you still had restraints on him, right? You got to regulate him. See, it's kind of like they said the horse and the nigga is like no good for economics in the wild. Because see, when he in his natural state, you can't control him. Huh? So what you do is you come in and you do it the way you do it in the rules and regulations, how you see it, but you can't come from my perspective, right? You don't understand how I walk and what we do and how we do it. You think because you coach and you study in science and that, but see, we're going to talk about this science business, right? We're going to go into that science business next, right? Because, I be hearing a lot of people always talking about science. And I'm like, yeah, did you hear this though? Check this out. Let me show y'all something here. I don't know what's going on with this today. It should be going down, so I don't know why it's doing that. But anyway, let's check this out, and let's see. Check this out. Now, again, as I'm talking about this science, people believe science, again, says to know. And I'm not saying that all science don't have facts to it. But you, as a person, again, as a wideologist, and how I look at it from the perspective that I see how they do, you ain't going to tell me that they don't have race-based science that can skew to get the outcome that they want, or they're going to tell you how it is. Until you have institutions and you have the funds to do all that and laboratories and all that to really get and know, you only know what they tell you. And they'll take your talent, put it in them, and you'll do the research for them to get the answers that they need on the projects that they want. Until there's a solely all black, no interference with nobody outside, you got to question it all. Well, what are you talking about, Mr. Blow? Check this out. That should be right back. Check this out, y'all. Hold up. Gotta do it this way, right? And so take that down and let's get it. There's a little one in there, little. Race science is on the rise in academia and being used to justify racism in broader society. You know I'm going to say that again. Race science is on the rise in academia and being used to justify racism in broader society. This story was done from the courts, May the 30th, 2019, and this is how it reads. There's been justified outrage about a recently published and hastily retracted academic article written by academics from Stellenbosch University in South Africa. The article suggested that colored women in South Africa present with low cognitive functions and which is significantly influenced by education. Colored is a racial classification legalized during apartheid for people of mixed race. This allegedly low cognition was also linked to unhealthy lifestyle behaviors. A myriad of articles have been written that criticize the author's work and take aim at the university's ethics committee for allowing the study to be conducted. They have been accused of racial essentialism, of methodological flaws, and the connecting race with medical conditions. There's one particular important concept that's been given a lot of attention in the debates, the notion of race science, which is also called scientific racism. The article in the proverbium that follows are a reminder that race and racism are still deeply embedded in science and must be exorcised. It's important to be alive to the dangers of race science because it can be used to justify racism in broader society. This can only be achieved by decolonization or decolonizing modern Western science. By decolonize, I mean decenter. Rather than destroy modern Western science, it must be stripped of the epistemological and methodological privileges it enjoys. Must be placed on the same plane as other approaches to knowledge and research. In this way, it can be compared equitably with other ways of knowing. If this approach becomes commonplace, then the new knowledge spaces will be created. In these spaces, those from different knowledge traditions can produce new knowledge through the negotiation of trust. They can apply different lenses and ask different questions that won't lead them to racialized ways of thinking and operating. But this will require a willingness to accept that modern Western science is one way and not the only way of understanding the natural world. Over the years, progress has been made to excise racism from science or to compensate those who were victims of scientific racism. One example was the compensation of the families of the African American men who were denied diagnosis and treatment for syphilis in the well-known Tuskegee study. Another is the universal acceptance of the principles and ethics that states do not harm. However, this has not arrested enduring racism in science. Race science rising. Race science concerns the use of science as a vehicle to advance racist agendas, or where race is used as a variable in science for the purpose of labeling certain groups of people negatively or defining them in deficit terms. There are many examples of this in history. Carlos Linnaeus, who developed the modern system of classifying living things, classified Khoisan, First Nation people of Southern Africa, as Homo monstratus, or abnormal people. And in 1937, the scientists and zoology department at the Stellenbosch University used 80 measurements to confirm the category colored man as distinctive from white man. Race science is on the rise again internationally, and it's being advanced in subtle ways by well-educated people who wear smart suits. British science journalist Angela Ciani points out that race science is on the rise again internationally, and she argues it's being advanced in subtle ways by well-educated people who wear smart suits. They said that twice, right? This includes academics at leading universities around the world. It's important to be alive to the dangers of race science because it can be used to justify racism in broader society. But it continues to exist because it is part of a system of thought that I call modern Western science. I'm referring here to science embedded in Eurocentrism, a way of thinking that patriotize anything from the Western world and particularly from Europe that was spread and entrenched through colonization. Given its original site of production, the school of thought necessarily centered European history. Through its various incarnations, our ideal identity of human was formed that is male, white, heterosexual, able-bodied, and this is a screen against which others are declared different. Positing others as different and inferior opened the door to race science. Khoisan men in South Africa. Of course, modern Western science did not develop free from the influence of other knowledges through colonization or colonizing places. It picked up certain ideas and approaches from different countries or regions. For example, indigenous people in North America helped settle to treat life-threatening scurvy through the applications of tonics made from conifer needles, which were rich in vitamin C. However, such knowledges were absorbed into a Western cultural archive and represented in Western terms. For example, the pain reliever aspirin was first discovered by indigenous people. They used willow bark, which contained the active ingredient from which aspirin was created. More importantly, modern Western science has not paid homage to the influence of other knowledge systems. There's no denying that modern Western science has brought some benefits to humanity, but this does not mean it shouldn't be interrogated and, as I suggested earlier, decentered. The upshot of this would be the democratization of science in two ways. First, by broadening who participated in the production of scientific knowledge, and second, by broadening what counts as science. This would help to root out race science. Science has always been and will always remain the product of human will and intention. Scientific knowledge will always be culturally and historically produced. And if we are to speak in any sense about objectivity in science, this must be produced by science that is multicultural and not universal. All right. Again, I got some technical difficulties today. I don't know what's going on with this thing. Thing is doing all kind of mess, huh? All right, let's see. Let's see what's going on here, because it's doing all kind of stuff, right? So let's get back into what it's doing here. All right, so you see that the article is talking about how, race science is on the rise in academia. And they're saying it's being used to justify racism in broader society. Now, again, think about it, because there's a lot of people who, again, may not like my presentation how I do. Everybody becoming a fact base, right? They think if you don't pull the receipt to see what I'm talking about, that I must not be telling the truth. I can't tell you what I know, and if you question what I know, go look and see. You know what I'm saying? That's what you got to do. If you don't take what I say, you can go look and see what I say. But then you got to also remember the fact is racism, right, ain't something you can actually just go get the facts to. Think about this, what I'm saying. You think you could go look up the science of race? Do you think that you can get the facts to the proof of the stuff other than the fact that it be articles and histories and stuff like that? And in that becomes a science of you who through experience can articulate. You understand? So there ain't going to be no real tangible fact to prove. You just got to know it. You understand? You got to know it. And the positive proof is that Mr. Blows Your Mind as a whiteologist on Black Minds News is some fact to what I'm saying. I'm the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. Think about that. Is there, other than the fact that somebody who will want to sit there and say, no one's hearing you. You can't even fathom that a system can be manipulated to isolate people. You ever heard of the term blackball before? Huh? Didn't you hear what was her name? What Steve Harvey got into it with, what's the sister name? Y'all know what I'm talking about. I see her face, but I can't think of her name. Right? Monique. And she talked about blackball. That ain't the first time. What was that? That was Washington. They used to play on that medical show. Did he say he was blackball? But he can't prove it, right? It was just like with the Colin Kaepernick situation. They were in collusion. Still ain't told you they was in collusion. They paid him out, but he can't talk about it because that's part of the stipulation of him getting paid, right? So there's some things you ain't gonna be able to prove tangibly when it comes to race. But you done had enough experience and lived and experience to know how I'm saying what I'm saying. I ain't gonna tell you what I heard. I'm going to tell you what I know. Now, the problem is most people who hear me, you don't have to take it for what I'm saying. But guess what? The other side know exactly what I'm saying. Wait a minute. I did a video that was basically viral when you talk about the black corner of the internet, right? That it affected them so much that they made sure to stop it. And then later on, they just now recently came to take it totally off the damn internet. But I don't know what I'm talking about, right? Because you can't get accredited in this in their universities. You understand? You can't get accredited with this in their universities. This is something you either go through in life, experienced, saw. You understand? The only way you getting this. There's certain aspects to history that you get, relate as to part of your tangible. But most of this got to be your understanding. And again, certain people had the vision that was given. See, like I told you, the one that come over here and keep putting the negative, all you got to do, if you want to have that conversation with me, you see the number on your screen. Set up a day you want to do it. Me and you can do that, and we can put it out for everybody here. I promise you, it will not do that. I promise you, he won't do it. Because they already know I know how to talk to you. I know what to say to you. You understand? So take it or leave it alone. That's up to you. Now, again, here it is again. Race science. Right? That they saying that it, again, South Africa. Same place for what? Caster SEMENYA is from South Africa. Same people want to talk about she biologically a man based on the way they want to say what she is. Right? And accordingly that science is coming from Western science. And they tell you it's on the rise. Because why? You done gave them so much free data. It voluntarily gave them your DNA. You don't know what they doing with your DNA. All you got in exchange for the money, you sold your biological properties to a Frankenstein. What was the motherfucking name that made Frankenstein? You sold your biological property to Frankenstein for $69 if it was on sale and $99. That he's going to do all kind of things that will be in your own detriment because you gave him your damn genetics to study. Think about that. See, that's what I'm saying. You say you need receipts. You can't even see what I'm saying. You need to be, think about that. Think about this. The white man told our people that we used to keep our historical records through what? Passed down verbally. When you said we didn't have no written record. But he said that's not credible because it's not written down. So it's only credible if it's written down. Right? It's only credible if it's written down. Right? And yet, when you look at the shit that's been written down and come to find out that a lot of this shit been altered, but it's still written down, but that's still valid. Because that can be manipulated. Can a story be manipulated? Yes. But if a lot of people saying it, can it be also true? Anyway. So again, they talk about people of mixed race having low cognition, right? Unhealthy lifestyle behaviors. Now again, mixed people. Now here's this country here, the United States, it's a lot of mixed people here, right? There's rarely, when you look at us as ADOS and BADOS, that in this more modern time, most people only have one side. Now, they may have one black parent and somebody other parent. They may be a black, but may be from a different, origin of nation, right? But again, when we going back, everybody goes, we all one. I get that. But I'm just saying geographically as modern. So what you have is you have people who have different backgrounds, but they be black. But you rarely, and again, me and others like myself, who have two parents, 4 grandparents, going on back. We don't find too many these days. So here it is in a sense, if you mixed, you already got a low cognition. You have unhealthy lifestyle behaviors, right? And they're saying that, they've been accused of having racial essentialisms right? Methodological flaws and connecting race with medical conditions, even though they may say that, but that don't mean that it's not in practice. You get what I'm saying? It's kind of like saying, in this country, there's certain things that seem like black people, sickle cells and diabetes, high blood, all these things that seem you can get, but everybody else don't get. But yet we all eating in the same environment, same thing, but somehow we're getting stuff that everybody else ain't getting. So they just say, well, maybe it's your genetically disposition to get that. Right? Maybe you're genetically disposition to get that. That could be true. That could be true. And the only way you would ever find that out unless you got what they got to be able to study and go through time and trial and error to come out with a test that can conclude that is a fact. But right now, we at ground zero. We ain't even got ground zero. Right? We have people who may be in the field, but you a Nebuchadnezzar. You're just a part of the cog of their shit. Right? You ain't in the cog of their shit. And so, it just, again, like I say, man, it's a thing you either got to know, And the thing is a lot of people today just don't know. And that's why you lack. And this is why you could keep playing, because your intuition, you understand? There was a time when you had intuition that be able to know. No one told you nothing. You just know. Y'all don't have that today. You see the same old rerun every time, and yet you can't really connect the dots and see beyond that to be able to say, well, that's why that trick ass shit came, because that's the way they do shit. You don't see that. So again, as I was saying, as to you getting certain shit, but then it could be a flip side to it, because again, once you understand that there was a biological weaponry, biological weaponry, never heard of that before? You never heard of that before? So if somebody, that means they have the biology, they have weapons that will attack the biology of people. Could that be a form of weapon or a form of a war? That somebody is using your biology, weaponizing things to attack your biology unbeknownst, as they said, that would take in the book and say the spiritual war, which is shit you cannot see. So if you cannot see it and can't be tangible, you can't believe it. So if you hear somebody like me, the brother just talking, because you can't understand what I see and what I understand. Because why? They train me well. I am one person who can say that many people cannot say, that I had experienced stuff since little, from schools all the way through to where I am today, that made me have the intuition. That's why I am able to do what I'm doing right now. Not like some of you hear something, but again, you don't get the understanding of it, and you cannot connect the dots. I got enough skin in the game to be able to do that. And when he hear me, he knows that. But he ain't gonna come in here and talk and come on there and say shit, because he know I got the sword to cut him. He knows that. So he had to keep me from thinking so that you don't be looking. But it's right there, right? So you think there ain't no science out here? That's race-based, race science? If you could do it in legislation, right? Think about that. If a person can be racial in their legislations and laws, in their education, in their real estate, what makes you think they wouldn't be it in their damn science and medical? Crazy, man. It's crazy. How minimalize how depth somebody would go to get you out the way. That's what you're doing. Anyway, moving on. So that's just what it is, man. I ain't gonna get too deep in that, because again, some people need to have tangible. You need to lay out all. I'm not gonna do all that. I already did my research. I did that. I just bring the article for you to, again, have an inquisitive mind. If you really want to know, you're going to go look. You're going to look. You'll find. What you seek, you shall find. It ain't here to be no followers to follow me like I'm something. No, I'm just here as information. This is a news channel. Okay? Don't forget that. It's a news channel, right? Moving on. All right, so what I got going here now, right? See, I ain't gonna get to all that. See, the problem today, what I see with a lot of people, and even these so-called old educated ass people, yeah, you got all that. And again, if I ask them the origins of college and where it came from, as a whiteologist, I could tell you that, but they couldn't tell you it. They couldn't tell you until you studied that to know how these colleges that you call higher learning and where it came from. Yes, you could go back to Egypt, but that we talking about the modern. We're not talking about then. We're talking about modern times, right? And so when they start instituting their shit, anyway. What else I got? All right, so I got this here, right? This story here, like I say, you say race, right? Hold on. No. Come on now. I don't know what's going on today, man. I mean, it is really, really, you know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, man, you know what I'm saying? A lot of behind the scenes shit y'all would never understand even if I told you. But anyway, check this out. So I got this here. Let me do this just in case, right? Let me, can I go there? No. Let's go here then. Let's go here. All right, so we're going to play this here. Okay, this here, again, is talking about racism, right? Now, here we is in the 21st century, almost 2020. And race is still a hot topic. It is as hot as it was almost as it was in the 60s, right? That's that hot, right? Going on the 400 year since 1619, is that what their count is, right? People talking about reparations. Another side, again, things are being revealed. And so, remember I did that story with Kyle Korver, right? When Kyle Korver was talking about what had happened in the NBA about how fans and how he looks more like those same fans that be in there, antagonizing and razzing and saying racial shit to the players, right? Remember he did that, right? But again, that didn't make the major news. That was only sports news. Well, once again, you have to look at, again, can people make mistakes? Yes. But we have to look at the idea, the ideology. No. Can we say ideology? Right? I guess we can say ideology, right? We can say the ideology, right? Of an individual and how they look at shit. And just say, well, damn, how do you look at it from that perspective if your shit ain't twisted? What you talking about, Mr. Blow? Check this out. Again, I'm not sure why my shit is doing this. I really don't know why it's doing this, y'all. I don't know why it's doing that. But let's try it anyway. Be right back. Check it out. Mo Wagner apologizes for Twitter like of George Zimmerman tweet. You know I'm going to say that again. Mo Wagner apologizes for Twitter like of George Zimmerman tweet. This story was done June 18th. Coming out of Larry Brown Sports. And this is how it reads. Mo Wagner apologized on Twitter Tuesday night for liking a pro-George Zimmerman tweet in the past. A tweet Wagner had liked defendant Zimmerman, the man who was at the center of the death of Trayvon Martin and subsequent trial. The tweet he had liked spun Zimmerman in a positive light, defending Zimmerman for the killing of Martin and the way he had sold paraphernalia since to make the money. There seems to be renewed attention surrounding Wagner because he is one of a few players under contract with the Los Angeles Lakers and currently part of a trade rumor. Wagner has liked nearly 1,200 items on his Twitter account, now 22. The former Michigan Wolverine big man was in Germany when Zimmerman was shot and tried for Martin's death. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to read what's on the screen. What it says that Zimmerman killed a man who was bigger than him after said man attacked him unprovoked and pounded his head into the pavement MMA style. He has to sign racist paraphernalia because the black community he had volunteered his time to help prior to the incident trying to ruin him. That's that pork burger shit. There we go. Man, what's going on? All right, so we see that the individual named Mo Wagner had, again, playing for the NBA, played for the Lakers. I think they're trying to trade him. And I guess somebody kind of went through his past. And, maybe there was some incidents going on that had something to do with the reason why he's being traded, right? Maybe some of these things fell out. Somebody found out about it. And again, can somebody say something inappropriately that may offend some people and could be apologetic about it? Sure, of course they could, right? Folks power, right? Everybody say things, slip up and say some things they probably shouldn't say, right? And again, there's a difference because again, I mean, they're going back and looking at stuff that you like. So everybody who out here liking a lot of stuff, you got to remember in your background, in your history, somebody want to dredge that up. They're going to say, well, see, look, you like this kind of stuff, right? So I guess you're liking Mr. Blows Your Mind stuff, right? But, again, like I said, it is what it is, right? But in his case, we have to look at the simple fact that, okay, those, again, like I said, I did the video where, again, I had solved the 3-minute mystery in the, that whole case when they trying to make it seem like that Trayvon could have ran home instead of telling the truth and saying that he had been trailing him from the original call when he made. He was trailing him the whole time and then pulled in to the front of what would be like either the office, and he says that he's crossing him, right? Remember he said he's crossing him, and then you hear the door ajar, you hear the sound of the door when he got out, and he was following them, and the operator said, are you following him? Yeah, we don't need you to do that. So he got out the car originally, and then got back in his car and came and followed him again. And we stopped following that time. Trayvon took off. Wasn't you? Somebody been trailing you. Remember those who've been around the old 70 movies. Ain't that the way how it used to start? Somebody be walking and then some LTD be pulling up real slow and they be walking. And you know how it is when you walking down the street. A car will pass you after a period of time if it's just going on this normal progress. But if it's just seen to be ain't got here yet, you kind of like, okay, I ain't walking that fast and the car ain't there, so is this motherfucker trailing me? So what happened in the old 70 movie? They stopped walking fast, the car started driving a little faster, right? Next thing you know, they take off and the car taking off after them, right? So that was just instinct. Trayvon knew that. He took the fuck off. Now, if he got the car the first time, he had to get out the car second time. And that's what they did not want you to know. See, this ain't tangible. This is just, it is what it is. Did you study it? Or did you just, again, what your tangibles didn't, how come your tangibles didn't come out to what my assessment was? They ain't gonna say nothing about that because that's what it is. They cut off that whole part prior to him getting to the office because he trailed them the whole time. Now, with that being said, and how that whole mock trial was, remember the individual who did the toxicology was a Chinese mug, and I know Zito. Remember that? I know Zito, right? Remember that whole shit? Like, what the hell you mean you know Zito? Right? So they brought in the professor of the German mug. He's the one that would teach him. The nurse was a foreigner. The toxicologist was a foreigner. And again, this ain't against foreign people. I'm just saying. And then they brought the white German man in. See? But see, you don't understand that. You understand? Oh, you're racist. You don't understand it. And so because his so-called expertise trumps over whatever they would have had said. Right? With that whole trial and every way to see it, and then talk about how all of a sudden now he getting MMA style, like the video said, the thing said, well, he was a much bigger man than George Zimmerman. It had nothing to do with that. But see, the problem is your rationale. Why is it that these people cannot rationalize the fact that Trayvon was where he's supposed to have fucking been? That's what I don't understand. So fucking what? He's a goddamn so-called neighborhood watch motherfucker. So what? You was wrong because you assessed somebody who had the right to be there. Do you know everybody in there? Do you know everybody who gonna visit? So your assessment of a situation, talking about somebody looking suspicious. Well, damn, let's put it on the other side of the shoe. Was you suspicious to him? Some motherfucker following him? Matter of fact, everybody made fun about the shit when Rachel Jantel said, talking about some creepy white motherfucker following me. Everybody, because he said white motherfucker, racial, and y'all just lost it. What you thought he was thinking? Some motherfucker following me like this. I'm creepy motherfucker, I don't know. I see some kind of white motherfucker, I don't know who he is. But everybody was got into this whole, because the way she looked, See? Yeah, where y'all minds be at? So, here's that whole trial, that whole situation get out. He talking about he shot the man because the man was attacking him. How could he attack you if you was supposed to be in your ass in the car? How could he attack you? Because what they did is they made Trayvon come back to get him. Trayvon never came to get him. You somehow caught up to him unbeknownst when he thought, when you was out there, when you parked that car in that entrance in front of the house and you came your ass through there, because he cut through the back part and went across and should have just cut through the other way, but he didn't. You said you went down to the other end and came back. That's what his story said. That don't mean that shit was true. But the problem is that everybody don't seem to understand is the motherfucker got out of his car twice. Yet you don't understand that. If you go back and listen, you hear the first time when you hear the door jar. See, the creator is the greatest player in the game. If you have ears, let them hear. If you have eyes, let them see. You hear the car alarm when it's ajar. Doom. Now this is when he talking with the dude. So that means he had opened this door and he got out, and you even hear the operator say, "Are you following him? We don't need you to do that." He gets back in the car now. You want me to just wait here? He said that. But did he wait? He got out again. So who's pursuing who? He don't have a defense to defend himself against you who, it's okay for you, but it ain't okay for, see? This is where the racial part. So now, here's this young man here, right? Still going along with the bullshit. Kind of like the same thing when they see us. White folks, when you watch this movie, when they see us, the creator is putting, y'all on trial. Do y'all now understand this? Y'all being put on trial. You thought the All-Seeing Eye was about some damn organization. The All-Seeing Eye is being revealed in recording. They said Revelation, right? Anybody want to talk about that? Revelation, everything being recorded. You're being put on trial. Anyway. So you would say that this man, you use all these bullshit things to try to justify. Oh, he was bigger than him. Oh, he was pounding his head MMM style. But not once can you even put yourself in the shoes of somebody trailing you in a damn car and you scared out your mind because you don't know who the fuck that is. But he gets the pass because he's, when I neighborhood watch, what does that got to do with the position that Trayvon is in? Not a goddamn thing. And not that you got the car once, you got the car twice. Who's pursuing who? And how does Trayvon know that who you is? And what jurisdiction does a person who's supposed to be this have? None. You put yourself in harm's way. Yet, white people seeing this still keep trying to justify this man. And so you went in there and you liked the comment. Oh, he did his good for black community and gave his time. See? Skewing your facts to make that square peg fit in the round hole, and then you want to say, we always lying. No, you just can't never seem to get the facts right. You have to say shit to make your shit fit when it never fit. Like I said, 8 out of 9 out of 10 times, when black people assess some shit collectively, it's going to be right. Because we have that intuition to know right and wrong. A lot of times we're forced in position to do things due to circumstance and conditions of design. And yet this young man in 2019, still after that case and all that's been happening, can't see that the individual who tried to claim to say he was the victim actually was the perpetrator. Just he got switched because he started to defend himself. Who wouldn't try to defend himself in that position? I don't know you. You had everything in your power to prevent that from happening. Oh, the niggas, they always getting away. You a neighborhood watch. What are you talking about? You ain't no cop. See? But they always put the onus on us. But you don't understand. Y'all being judged. Y'all think y'all not, but you are. Anyway. So that's what's happened. So again, that done came to light. Lakers, a lot of players probably was like, fuck that, man. One motherfucker around us like that. Ooh, he ain't that good. No motherfucker, trade this motherfucker. You know, LeBron over there, right? So he apologized. I'm sorry. All right, it's okay. All right, you're sorry. But your thought ain't no different than a lot of other people like yourself. They all think the same shit too. I don't understand how he could be the motherfucking attacker. His father lived there. He's staying with his father. Just throw all that shit. That has no... All the fact that he looked creepy. Y'all can make the concept that somebody observing somebody and not understand that this man had all the right to be there and somehow just throw that shit out the goddamn window. Who y'all... Man, dude. Y'all being judged, man. And all them that think like that. Y'all being judged and y'all can't even see it. When they see us, if any white folks watch that and walk away and still talk about that they was guilty, Because they confessed. Because they confessed, that made them guilty. You never been under the duress under that circumstance before, have you? We have many people, again, if Judgment Day should ever be the way that we think it is, when it just mugs us up there telling stories on stories and having somebody sitting there, you're going to hear some of the most stories you ain't never heard or thought that even family could be possible. Moving on. So, get on to this. Here, what I got here now? I got this here. This here, right? Well, again, like I say, it's all in our minds, imagination of our minds when we saying shit. So again, let's look at this, right? Let's check this out. Let me give it a little thumb up. Come up behind and do this, right? Let's do this first. Let me do this first. Hold on. Let me do this. Do this, and then this here. Okay, so let's look at it like this. So, you know, again, as I was just saying about that situation, not so much getting on the Wagner duty. He's a young dude, but again, his thought ain't no different than a whole lot of people like himself, right? Seeing certain situations and cannot really connect the damn dots the way you're supposed to connect the dot. You're even biased in that. Right? So again, let's say that's the situation with George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin. But when does this say a whole people who have been done wrong and those who have been the seeds coming from that and everything that the facts that can now be tangibly laid down about what has been done can be shown. And then you have somebody who still talks like this. This is what I said. Y'all on deck, man. Y'all being judged and don't see it. Okay. What are you talking about, Mr. Mrblowsurmind? Yeah, let me play this and she'll be right back. Mitch McConnell says slavery reparations aren't needed because we elected Barack Obama president. You know I'm going to say that again. Mitch McConnell says slavery reparations aren't needed because we elected Barack Obama president. This story is coming out of Newsweek, June 18, 2019, and this is how it reads. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell told reporters on Tuesday that he doesn't believe reparations are an appropriate remedy for America's century-long history of slavery. I don't think reparations for something that happened 150 years ago, for which none of us living are responsible, is a good idea, he told reporters at a press conference on Capitol Hill. McConnell added that the country has tried to reckon with the original sin of slavery by passing landmark civil rights legislation and more recently by having elected an African-American president. The majority leader called America a work in progress and countered calls for reparation by saying it would be pretty hard to figure out how to distribute restitution. McConnell's comments come on the eve of a historic hearing set for Wednesday when the House of Representatives will convene a panel to discuss the continuing legacy of the transatlantic slave trade for the first time in more than a decade. The House Judiciary Subcommittee will call witnesses from a broad cross-section of public life to better understand the institutional effects of slavery, including its continuing impact on the community and the path to restorative justice. The panel will examine H.R. 40, a bill repeatedly introduced by veteran Congressman John Conyers, which would create a commission to study the history of slavery in the United States and make recommendations about how to educate the public and meaningfully address its findings. The hearing coincides with the holiday of Juneteenth, which was established to commemorate the 1865 abolishing of slavery in Texas. While the question of reparations has long been sidelined by most prominent presidential candidates, including Barack Obama, a growing number of Democrats running for the 2020 nomination have begun to endorse a reparation program, at least in theory, to help address the lingering effects of slavery and Jim Crow. Senator Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren and former HUD Secretary Julian Castro, all running for president, have come out in favor of reparations or an inquiry into how such a program would be implemented. Senator Cory Booker has introduced the only reparation bill to ever receive consideration in the post-Reconstruction United States Senate. It will create a commission to study the impact of slavery and propose reparation-style remedies in response to its findings. Marianne Wilson, a self-help guru who has received comparatively little attention for her 2020 bid, has proposed perhaps the most sweeping measure to tackle reparations. Her platform calls for a $200 billion to $500 billion investment over 20 years in various educational and economic projects to be selected by an esteemed council of African American elders or leaders. The current conversation can be traced in part to Ta-Nehisi Coates' influential 2014 essay for The Atlantic, in which the author argues for reparations as a way for the country to reckon with its slave-owning legacy. Coates will appear alongside actor Danny Glover, documentarian Katrina Brown, and other scholars at Wednesday's hearing. All right, so I think we're back now, right? All right, so we see that Mitch McConnell says slavery reparations aren't needed, right? He's saying it's not needed. Wait a minute. How can someone from the outside of what done transpired say what is and what's not? See, you just bias right off the bat. Think about it. You gonna say what's not needed from whose perspective? And then you said the cleanest of cliches. Then this is really told. This really, see again, like I said, you thinking you finna go Google. You finna go Google this, right? You think you gonna Google and get it, right? You know where you gonna get this at? You gonna get a lot of this through history. History. And a lot of people cannot read a lot of white history because you don't see yourself and you can't see it all. You can't take. But you don't see there's a science in this shit. This shit ain't just that. There's science in it, right? And understand connotative language and all. When you understand that, right? So to say that, because we elected. Now, when he say we, who he mean by we? Is he talking about you? He can't be talking about you because it's simple fact. If he was talking about you, he wouldn't be talking about reparations aren't needed. If he was talking about you, he wouldn't be saying reparations aren't needed because in your mind, you saying reparations are needed. So he ain't talking about you. So when he talking about we, he talking about him peoples, right? He talking about him peoples. I know probably say his, but I'm saying him peoples, right? So him peoples is saying that was an opportune time. Based on who was running, they ain't gonna put McCain in. You know why they weren't going? One, they weren't gonna put Hillary in, right? And then Hillary even tried to pull the game, right? I ain't won by popular votes. This shit ain't made by popular votes. Stop it. Obviously, they try to play the game with you, try to get you emotional. When she had the most popular votes, it ain't run by popular votes, by Electoral College. They picking it. Now, the game they tell you is Electoral College will pick according to how the state, right? They can, but then if you've seen the videos I put out, show that there's a little fine if they shouldn't do it. They don't have to do it. They do it just so that you think that you're real part of the situation or the process of doing it. It's already been picked who they're going to get, right? So anyway, but based on, John McCain and his you know, some of them, again, look how Donald Trump treated John McCain when he passed, right? You know what I'm saying? And, you know, some of them would look at him based on what had happened and then how he got pardoned. Matter of fact, they try to put him up for treason, right? So, again, well, I don't know what white people was really going to put him, because I don't know if all of them was really down with him like that. So, guess what was left? This black guy named Barack Obama, right? So, maybe that's just the way the game was set up to do like that, right? And so, here's Mitch McConnell saying, we gave you first black president. See? So, did they do it because it was the best man for the job? Or did they do it because, again, look who was in prior before him, and look what the country was, and look how it was such in shambles, and, you know what I'm saying, no, it's a plane in the air, both wings done fell out, the engine done fell out, they say, come on, Barack, land us down safely. Right? That's what it was, right? And the only way that probably other people could feel good is knowing, well, shit, this motherfucker's burning anyway, so fucking give it to him. Let's see some man, what they call him, Barack the Magic Negro, right? All that shit, right? Brought you back from, he glad this motherfucker down enough to get you back. Now the motherfucker come out and to make it great again, right? Well, before it was great, before he got in, it was burning and crashing. So you got him, and then this individual here is still not cut from the cloth of black Americans of the land. So he ain't got no allegiance. So you throw somebody in our face, and yeah, he still ain't got no allegiance other than talking about his wife. That ain't got nothing to do with him. He the mug in the seat, even though the seat ain't finna do too much, no damn way. So of course, in order for him to be the perfect candidate, you think reparations could have been coming out of his mouth? Now, they told you that Michelle, when she was in college, she wrote some radical paper and she was talking about white folks and all this other good stuff. But she wasn't running the country. She just the first lady. She out there doing the Dougie and all that other stuff, right? You know what I'm saying? Ain't worried about that. Give it to her, Barack. Shut her up. All right. So anyway, so what we see is the fact that he said that he doesn't believe reparations are appropriate remedy for American centuries-long history. Because why? This is their kickstand. This is what the thing they always hold themselves on. I don't think reparations is something that happened. Well, we don't need to be paying reparations for something that happened over 150 years ago. Wait a minute. So let's just say that those who are the descendants of those who did accumulate wealth in more fashion than one, more fashion than one. It wasn't just the slavery. There's the free. There was the Homestead Act. And there was a whole lot of stuff that was given, right? That our people could not benefit from, and all that opportunity allowing other people to escape from wherever destitute they were coming from, and eating potatoes and plague and those religious ass wars. You know what I'm saying? Getting able to run. Even the Jews was able here to run over here. Those was in Russia was able to run over here, right? And they benefit too, right? So, to say that is to say we're not responsible. How come you're not responsible? You was the inheritors. So that means whatever they had passed down to somebody, right? And somebody else became the beneficiaries, and it's still as if that money is no longer in. They say old money versus new money. That old money, boy, you can't get rid of that old money. That money, that's some long ass money. They don't put them in the Forbes magazine. You know that, right? They don't talk about some Bill Gates and whatchamacallit in the richest man. Shit. What? When they start counting? You know what I'm saying? When y'all just start counting? Yeah, we know. Right, whatever, right? So this individual trying to say, because that's the thing. We weren't responsible and none of us was here. Wait a minute. See, listen to the logic, man. None of us was here. Well, how do we all get here if it didn't have nothing to do with the past? How could I sit here and talk to you today if my past ain't got nothing to do with why I'm here today? But that's the logic y'all got. And that's how y'all reason with everything. We ain't nothing doing it. But see, it only sounds good to you because you're trying to get out of some shit. You understand? And yet understanding that it is the original sin of this nation. But they say, well, we passed landmark civil rights legislation. What? The right to vote? To eat in restaurants? You know how much shit we still fighting to this day that you don't honor, that you say you gave? But again, that's just bullshit talk. And then to say we're electing an African American, not black American. No. African American umbrellas everything and everybody from any other place that others derived that had once been part of Africa. What about the people who built the country? Are you going to ever put one of them in? We already know that. We already know that. So like I said, whether they want to believe it or not, y'all the one on deck for judgment. You're on the deck. And still to say that this country is a work in progress. God, how big is this? I mean, how, you ever seen some construction out there? And, working probably out there standing in a row? Okay, if it's the highway, they take a little bit of time, right? We're talking about 150 years, talking about still in progress. What? Boy, this is the slowest working ass crew of motherfuckers ever. Huh? Ain't trying to get nothing done. What they say, gold bricking. I'm up with this laying around, drinking, talking, laughing, ain't doing no kinds of work. Huh? Well, you gotta give us time. Time for what? Oh, giving you time to do what you do to, eradicate, then trying to repair. Is that what you're talking about? Right? So, here they is having this so-called hearing about reparations, and they're talking about, well, we're going to, convene together to study it. We don't need to study that. You already know what it is. What's to talk about? Now you say, well, we're going to have a problem. How are we going to disagree? Wait a minute. Oh, no. That's very easy. You can start off with those who, like I said, like those who got two, right to this day, 2019 or 2020, people who got two who are black Americans through and through. Black mama, daddy, black grandparents, and so forth and so forth going back. That's easy to get. Now, the other people who might be, half part there, well, you work that out. You'll figure out how to get that right. And if they should get some, matter of fact, if their parents get it, they cut through in there. You understand? But to try to act like you can't figure out who's who, that's a damn lie. What you think a census is? You don't know how many black Americans is in this nation? That's bullshit. See, that's all bullshit, man. That's all bullshit. The HR 40 is a bullshit thing too. Because if all you ain't talking about is trying to come collectively and then try to study it and try to put the right people and then try to come up with some kind of findings. And then when you talk about it, you still talking about how you're going to actually reciprocate the money back to you. Education? Well, shit, we got people at this state and day right now who got a lot of education and that shit don't work for them. So education ain't where it's at. It's the money. Give a nigga the money. Let the nigga do what they want. Don't worry about what he going to spend his money on. If you work and you got a check, you don't worry about what they do with their goddamn money. So what do you care about if you give the money what you owe? You don't give a fuck about what they going to do with the money. If they want to blow the goddamn money, let them blow it. You don't need to be sitting there, well, we need to do medical, and we got, no, fuck up. You won't get that any goddamn way. Cut the motherfucking check, as they say. Cut the goddamn check. All this other bullshit y'all talking about, man, say that drama for your mama. We know this is stall tactic. You understand? And then talking about these other people. Well, Barack Obama wasn't for it because he ain't black American. That's why his ass wasn't down for it. You ain't put no nigga in there that was coupling and saying that shit. You can't find no nigga that's in there saying that. And everybody else who came in after that, Kamala Harris? Well, is she cut? No. Cory Booker? I don't know if that nigga cut. So who you got in there that's cut, that's representing? No one. And the one person who's saying straight about some money, that Marion Wilson, but she's still talking about taking the money and putting it, and again, it's going to go into their hands. Education. If you give me my money, if I want some education, I could pay for it my damn self. I don't need you. Give me the money. Everybody say, these motherfuckers, it's not just the money. Fuck all that. Do you understand the data and the shit that's talking about how we and no generation wealth and what's going to happen by a certain period of time? Let us start building with the money now. 2020, by the time 2050, bro, that's 30 years. We've been spending that damn money. We could do some shit for the generations coming. But this stagnation and bullshitting, then what y'all talking about? Nothing. Fool's gold. Right? Just fool's gold. Matter of fact, since we on this, let me show you something, man. Everybody want to talk this shit, talking about something. Well, no, I don't know what the fuck y'all talking about. Because y'all ain't talking about shit, really, to be honest about it. Y'all bullshitting. A lot of shit is just straight up bullshit. And everybody want to act like nobody can't tell the fact the motherfucker bullshitting. Right? Check this out. Look at this little history right quick. Check this out. Be right back. Check this out. Black poverty is rooted in real estate exploitation. You know I'm going to say that again. Black poverty is rooted in real estate exploitation. This story is coming out of Bloomberg, June the 17th, 2019, and this is how it reads. One question is, or should be, central to any assessment of the state of America. Why, more than a century and a half after slavery ended, does the typical black family remain so much poorer than the typical white family? A new study on housing in Chicago illustrates a big part of the answer. Generations after generations, the United States system of real estate finance has enriched whites at the expense of blacks. Housing has long played a crucial role in America's wealth accumulation. People buy homes with federally subsidized mortgages, built up equity, and passed the assets on to their children. But as recently as the 1960s, government policy excluded blacks. In a practice known as redlining, the Federal Housing Administration designated predominantly black neighborhoods as no-go zones for government-insured mortgage loans. The FHA also wouldn't guarantee loans for new mixed-race developments. The presence of even a single black family was enough to warrant rejection. Hence, blacks had to find other ways to obtain shelter. One was contract for deed, an arrangement usually offered by speculators who bought properties expressly for that purpose. It requires a down payment and regular monthly installments from the occupant, but that's where the similarities to a mortgage ended. The sale price and effective interest rates tended to be wildly inflated. The buyer assumed all the responsibilities of homeowner, including repairs and taxes, while the seller retained title, along with the power to evict for missing even a single payment. As a result, families who bought on contracts didn't accumulate equity and faced a long and precarious path to ownership. Chicago became a hotbed of contract for deed transactions in the mid-20th century. As a large number of blacks, still brutally persecuted in the South, moved to northern industrial cities in the Great Migration. The city also saw one of the country's largest organized rebellion against the practice. The Contract Buyers League, which filed 2 federal lawsuits seeking relief from the contracts. Onerous provisions, the lawsuit failed, but for historians, their long list of homes and tenants cited as evidence provided a rare and valuable window into what was otherwise a largely undocumented and unregulated phenomenon. Now, researchers, including Jack McNamara, who as a young Jesuit seminary helped organize the league, have tapped those lawsuits along with municipal records and works of other scholars to come up with an estimate of how much this one predatory practice in one city set back black families. Using data on sales and mortgage rates, they calculated how much each family payment exceeded what they would have been if the property had been purchased at the prevailing market price with a conventional mortgage loan. Then they added it up all the contract properties they could identify from the years of 1950 to 1970. The outcome, black families were overcharged somewhere between $3.2 billion and $4 billion in 2019 dollars. The real estate agents and investors who profited were almost exclusively white. So this represented a direct transfer of wealth from one race to another. Worse, the contract's exorbitant terms, along with the lack of equity to borrow against, left black families without the means to invest in their properties, contributing to the physical decline of their neighborhoods. The predatory didn't end in the 1960s. It evolved. There was the FHA scandal of the 1970s, in which indiscriminate federal lending and outright corruption enabled speculators to sell inner city homes to blacks at inflated prices, resulting in widespread foreclosures. There was the subprime boom of the 2000s, in which blacks were steered into inappropriately expensive loans that enriched a whole ecosystem of mortgage industry professionals, but often left borrowers with nothing but an eviction notice and a bad credit history. In the wake of the subprime bust, investors, including private equity firms, have again targeted the same neighborhoods, buying up houses of the cheap and renting them back to black and other minority tenants, sometimes under contracts very similar to those of the 1960s. The investors involved don't necessarily act with racist intent. They exploit blacks because they were the opportunity it is. But the effect is the same. Black Americans experience a completely different kind of finance, one that turns the dream of a home ownership into a property trap. This helps explain why, despite narrowing racial disparities in areas such as education and employment, the gap in the net worth remains just as large as it was almost 3 decades ago. So if you ever find yourself in a predominantly black neighborhood, wondering why everyone seems so poor, know this. It's largely because white people, possibly even you or your ancestors, stole from them and their ancestors. The more Americans recognize this deep, tragic flaw in the fabric of our society, the greater the chance that we can find a remedy. All right, so Bloomberg put out an article talking about black property. Black poverty is rooted in real estate exploitation, right? And this talks about how the assessment of the state of America and how over the centuries after slavery had ended, that many of the black families, as I was talking about, black Americans, are poorer than white families. It's got to do with a lot of the fact that, again, when we talk about the Homestead Act of 1862, and then it came back again in 1865, and accordingly they said only 30,000 people had applied, but only so many of them, maybe 5,000 out of that 30, were able to get some of that. But when they did in 1862, how many white families was able to obtain property, land, acreage, and was able to pass that down, if not sell it later at another time? And again, understanding land and property and how equity and how that helps your family and to stabilizing them and allow them to have some wealth in the family to do things. And yet we was X'd out of that, right? And we can see that how this, this prolonged denial traveled all the way from 1862 to 1865, all the way to where we are to this day. And so what you see in the article, it talks about how in the 1960s that you had government policies, right, that excluded, it was just direct. They excluded blacks in practice known as redlining, right? This is our own government, right? Now, again, you know what a lot of people do? A lot of people try to separate the fact from government from the peoples. Now, people elect people to represent the people. So that means that the people who are in government has to be people. And who are these people representing? And that means that they represent the state of mind of the people who elected them. So again, we try to make it seem like it's something separate, like a government, just a building or an institution, but they ain't run by people. You understand? It's game. It's a game. So we also see that the FHA, which is the Federal Housing Administration, it designated predominantly black neighborhoods as a no-go zone. FHA, right? Negroes, if there's just one Negro in there, you're not going to be accepted for this loan, And they wouldn't even guarantee loans for the new mixed race, Even if you was mixed, you couldn't get that loan either. So, what ended up happening was this thing that they end up creating called contract deeds, contract for deeds, right? And we see in Chicago, this happened because, again, as the article talks about the migration, they call it the Great Migration. Again, a lot of blacks, my ancestry, black Americans, getting the hell up out of the South due to all the shit that was going on down there, right? Trying to get away, industrial revolution. Then you had the war. The war was going on, so a lot of white men was going to war. So that left a lot of opportunities. But again, black people coming up into these cities, Midwest and things like that. So you're talking about Chicago, Detroit, and so forth and things like that. And they were, getting jobs, but they had no place to live, right? They were getting redlined out, right? At one time, they just had a little designated area, so they always, packing up and could get a place, and they all packing up in there. And then what happened? If a job laid them off, there wasn't no unemployment. There was no kind of benefits and shit like that, right? So it was straight struggling, right? And so what you see when they talk about this contract for deed was sanctioned by the government that allowed them to do this, which is you have some men who seen opportunity, and primarily most of them were white men, right? A home that they would normally sell to white people for about $10,000, sell it for black people twice and five, right? $25,000, right? And the way that that concept was set up, you paying, it's kind of like a rent to own, right? You're paying monthly mortgage, and you take on the full responsibility as if you own it, paying taxes, but yet the white man keeps the goddamn deed. And if you miss one payment, he could evict your ass. And you think that wasn't going on like that was part of the scheme? Or somebody who tried to stay on and find some slick ass way to fuck you up, and so he could get your ass out, but yet you done paid for this house all this damn time, and now you're going to get a new whole tenant. So how long was that game running on, right? And then you don't get no equity in it, right? He getting the equity too because he the one the title holder, right? Ah, man. So we see that Chicago was the hotbed for these contract for deeds. And, what you see that you've seen some individuals, Jesuits, right? And they talk about the Jesuits. And again, if you doing any study again, know about the Jesuits, okay, like I say, they want to try to separate. So, well, not all the apples are bad in the bunch. But you had this individual, this Jack McNamara, who was a Jesuit seminary. He helped organize a league, right? And what they did is they had tapped those lawsuits and municipal records. And they had seen all the works of other scholars. And they came up with an estimate that said, based on the fact that the way you did a lot of black people, and we was tabulate this and come up with this and this, and this is what you pretty much would owe them because, again, you actually prohibit them, right? And, they had tried to do this all the way back to the 50s, to the 70s. And they said, well, the outcome of black families were overcharged. And they estimated to be about $3.2 billion or $4 billion. And that would be counting today's money, right? And they said that, again, the real estate agents, the investors who profited from a lot of this stuff, again, like they say, exclusively were white men, right? And that, based on that exorbitant terms, the lack of equity, right? They couldn't even borrow against the equity of that. Left a lot of the black families without means to invest in their properties, which again, in cause and effects, made a decline in the damn community. Now, we're talking about a few people who might have been able to have this, but the other parts were that white people were owning them properties that were renting and wasn't putting no money in it. So the dilapidation that black people were living in was due to the simple fact of whom, right? And so we see even at the 60s, that stuff didn't even end, because you end up having, I think in 1970, you had the FHA scandals, right? In which they said indiscriminate federal lending and outright corruption enabled speculators to sell the inner city. Those blacks that not those black, but I'm talking about the homes that we as black people were able to get became widespread foreclosures. Then they come back later on, remember, that in 2008, 7-8, you understand? Mrblowsurmind was in real estate school at that damn time. When that bubble bust, everybody was making money. That's how lucrative it was doing that. Everybody was jumping in making money. Shit, people just you get banked because you had property. You could just get all kinds of loans. Everybody writing the loan. All kinds of was making money. And they were selling to our people who didn't have no job. And that shit bust. And guess what? Tore up people's credit. They got evicted out of their homes they couldn't pay for. Right? And then what happened after that? Them same homes they took again, went back and was reselling them again to black people once again. But no, Mitch McConnell, there ain't no reparations needed. Ain't nobody been doing nothing to us. And so, the history in itself, that's the tangible, right? Ain't no need for me to lay down all the motherfucking cards. Because they already know what it is. That's what I'm saying. What is the real purpose of having this so-called HR 40 and talking about we need to get together, convene, to try to figure out the history, trying to estimate about what the findings would be? You already know what it is. We already know what it is. And shit, as time go on, we're going to find out all the new shit behind that shit that you've been doing. But no, nobody, we don't deserve nothing. It just... we'll get around to it. We living in your shit. Kind of like watching When They See Us. See them 5 young men going through all that shit. And then hear that damn woman, what was she, the prosecutor or district attorney, saying shit. Well, it didn't matter. The white woman had been raped and we got justice. But the wrong people. So it don't matter as long as we get justice. That's your logic. That's your logic. Yet still get the person and don't want to still admit the fact that y'all fucked up. But everybody want to say we ain't shit. But we ain't shit. Yeah? Well, check this out. Now we're in this, gonna play this here. We're gonna end it out on this one, Because I'm not sure what's going on here. I don't know why my stuff doing what it's doing. But listen to this sister here. And again, I want to thank everybody for coming listening to today's show. And again, whether you're on the black side or not, it is what it is. It's just the news. It's not about hate. It's just reporting. We got to tell it like it is. Because everybody act like this shit is a game, and it's not. So until the next show, stay black, love, and peace, and all that good stuff. But listen to this sister and what she say, right? She laying it out. It's obvious. Other than this, I guess, the guilt that one may feel. Check this out. Be right back.
We were way ahead of them. in our civilization. They set out to destroy us. And Berlin Conference put the nail on that coffin. So they gave Djibouti the same sovereignty as the United States. They gave Burundi the same sovereignty as China. They gave Togo. You see, the EU realizes individual little countries, they can't survive on the world stage. So they come together as the European Union. Now picture this now. So they cut up this Africa into the tiny little countries, small economies that could never survive on their own, but gave them the same sovereignty as the big boys. So that way, when the little bitty countries go to the world stage for the purposes of development and discussing trade, they're wannabe boxers who are being thrown into the heavyweight boxing ring every day. How do you put China in the same boxing ring with Eswatini? Eswatini has 1.2 million people. China has 1.4 billion people. And you put them on the same stage and say, go at it, negotiate. Are you with me? Yes. This is insanity of the highest order. How have we allowed this carnage to go on? When Eswatini is thrown in the same boxing ring with China and Eswatini collapses before Eswatini even gets on the stage, the world says, well, Eswatini, what's wrong with you? Why can't you take care of your people? Well, China came in and said, Eswatini, give me all your gold or else. And if Eswatini does not agree, they just go on next door to Lesotho and give Lesotho an extra $1. And if Lesotho doesn't take it, they just jump on to Togo, Central African Republic. It was all by design. 1884. They did something else in addition to chopping us up. They also set out to make the African believe that everything African was bad and undesirable, and everything Western, particularly French and British, was more desirable. We call that the legacy of colonization. Prior to that, they had started long working on the slaves. Make them think everything about them, forget anything about Africa. Where you come from is a horrible place, diseased and dying people, constantly at war with themselves, uncivilized. Cut out any communications with them. You need to just know what we tell you. And we call that the legacy of slavery. So that's where you look at where we are today. 135 years later, a system that was put in place to see to it that Africa and her children are forever defeated, that Africa is forever exploited, remains in place today, alive and well. And we sit here and we ask ourselves, why isn't Africa moving forward? Why does Africa continue to be taken advantage of? Well, I'll tell you why, very simply. Until Africa comes together as a continent speaking with one voice, one continent, one people, nothing, and I repeat, nothing is gonna change. As individual little African countries, we are wannabe boxers. We will never make it fighting against the heavyweights. We must speak with one voice. Yeah. And this is exactly what our Pan-African leaders wanted to see happen in 1963 when they came together in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. They clearly stated that Africa for the Africans at home and abroad, and that African Union was now. They said Africa must speak with one voice. It is the only way for Africa to take its rightful place on the world stage. Sadly, when they went to Addis Ababa in 1963, they were divided. We had two factions, the Casablanca group and the Monrovia group. The Casablanca group were saying Africa for the Africans at home and abroad, and African Union now. This was Ghana, Guinea, Mali, Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. Only 7. The other 25 of the 32 who attended were the Monrovia group. They were the nationalists. They said, let's go slow. Let's kind of wait on this Pan-African thing. 55 years later, 56 this year, we're still going slow. As if it wasn't bad enough that we were divided up into the tiny little countries that we are today. The gift that Berlin Conference gave us. One other thing that France did between 1958 and 1961 in the name of giving us our independence as African countries. France forced the Francophone, and I hate that terminology. There is no such thing as Francophone, Anglophone. They made it up. But for the purposes of communication, I will use that. 14 of those countries, they said, in order for you to get your independence from us, you must sign this document. You thought they could have found a better name for the document. The document was called the Pact for the Continuation. I repeat, the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. We are talking about giving you independence, but sign this pact for the continuation of colonization in a different format. And I'm going to highlight some of those issues that they said you must agree to if you are going to be independent. Hello. Maybe we need to redefine the meaning of independence for the French. First, France said, you see, you monkeys, you don't know how to manage your money. We're going to demand that you deposit 85% of your bank reserves with the French Minister of Finance. Under the French Central Bank, under the control of the French Minister of Finance. France is then going to take your 85% bank deposits from each and every one of you. Deposit those funds in the French stock market under the French name. And you may or may not know the returns. Today, as we speak, the latest figures are saying for every 14 billion that France invests in the stock market from Africa, they are realizing upwards of 300 billion in return. Every year in, year out, because of these deposits from the African countries, France is taking out of Africa over $500 billion. Now figure it out. For every 14 billion, the returns on the investment are over 300 billion, and they are taking over 500 billion. So in actuality, France is taking out of Africa trillions of dollars year in and year out. From us poor people, Africans. Back to the pact. So should you want to access some of your money that you have deposited with France, you have to submit your country's financial returns. And if approved, you get to get it as a loan. You can only access up to 20% of your money year in, year out as a loan at commercial interest rates. Your own money. As if that was not enough. They said all your minerals discovered, yet to be discovered, all your oil discovered, yet to be discovered. France and French companies have the first right of refusal. If there's anything left over that the French companies do not want, your people might have. To this day. They said you will only use the currency that we created for you because you're special Africans. We call it the CFA. There was the Central African CFA and the Western African CFA, same animal. And that France is the only one that can print it for you. 1958. Fast forward, they're still printing it for us. And if you start misbehaving, they just stop printing your money, and your country's in trouble. They also said your language of instruction shall be French, whether you like it or not. That France will have military presence in your country, that your military can only be trained by France, that you can only buy military equipment from France, that you cannot have any military alliance with your neighbor, and that in the event of war, your allegiance is only to France. And furthermore, because they have military presence in your country, they can invade you without notice should they feel that the interests of France in your country are being violated.
Teach, sister, teach. Speak on, sister.
Fast forward, 2019, nothing has changed. The same people who have the audacity to tell us that we are poor countries, they are taking trillions out of Africa every year. And what is the African doing? Like an obedient, programmed black man, we just give in. We know the facts, but we just do nothing about it. Now, you have to say some of the fears are real, because the France that has sold you inferior equipment to theirs, France that has trained your military to be inferior to their military, they are now in your country. They can invade you. They have the permission to do so. They can destabilize you. And then one might say, why is it that African leaders haven't done anything about this deplorable situation? Well, let me tell you, my brother and sister, they have tried. Documented to this day, 22 coups where leaders were assassinated. France had something to do with it. The first 7, when they decided they were pulling out of the CFA and that they're going to print their own money, they were assassinated. Every time an African leader has tried to do what's best for their country, they were assassinated. Majority of them aided by France. It's a known fact. And then others, they were just mercenaries who felt that when there was a natural resource discovered in one country, they wanted to create a coup. So while the country is thrown into a civil war, they're siphoning the natural resource. We know of one particular story that had we not known about it, it would have been, oh, there we go again, the Africans. In about 25 years ago, a group of young, rich white kids were having fun in Cape Town. They found out that there was oil in Equatorial Guinea that just been discovered, and they wanted it. So they set out a plan to have a coup in Equatorial Guinea. So while the Guineans are busy fighting a civil war, they will be siphoning the oil. But they made one mistake. There were 2 planes. One was to leave South Africa, stop in Zimbabwe, pick up more ammunition on their way to hunt in Equatorial Guinea. Another plane was taking off in the Caribbean that had this puppet diaspora who was supposed to be the next president. Mugabe wondered why such young people needed such powerful ammunition to go hunt in Equatorial Guinea. In doing his research further, he found out that this was a coup in the making. He allowed them to land in Zimbabwe. They loaded their plane, and just before takeoff, they were all arrested. The ringleader of that group was none other than the son of the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Margaret Thatcher. She had to fly to Zimbabwe and paid handsomely to get her son out. The last one of those prisoners left Zimbabwe about 6-7 years ago. Had these young people succeeded, it would have been another coup. There you go, the Africans again. Such, my brothers and sisters, is the story of your Africa. They don't do coups anymore. They simply create instability. So when you hear of an instability in an African country, ask yourself, what is really going on? Because what they are telling you is really going on is just a shiny object. The real issue is over here. And you need to stop before you start being used as an instrument of your own self-destruction.
Portions of the following program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.
I'm here to tell you tonight that the businessmen, the mayor of this city, the police commissioner of this city, and everybody in the white power structure of this city must take a responsibility for everything.
Can you feel it? Can you feel it?
Luther and I and everyone in this arena tonight are unified by the same great American values. We're proud of our country. We respect our flag. Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
Race is when you use your power and influence to subject people into inferiority. Utterances can't be racist.
Look around you, man. They own this shit. They own this couch you sitting on, them shoes you got on your feet, this building, this school, this country, you. We're behind enemy lines, dog.
So you must first of all remember that this system was not originally designed with black people in mind. Right on. And it definitely was not prepared for black people to, in the end, begin to demand their rights and an equal share in this country which they died for. Right on. Hey, and we definitely are not going back to Africa.
In the church, we used to sing the song, "Good news, the chariot is coming." While you sit here today, knowing that you have come to hear good news, you must realize in advance what good news for you might be bad news for somebody else. What good news for the sheep might be bad news for the wolf.
They say, oh, things are getting so much better for you. In 1849, they was hitting blacks on the head 100 times a day. In 1990, they hit them 48 times a day. Isn't it better? Oh, it's got to be better. You're saying 52 blows.
The only purpose of most black Americans on earth today is to destroy.
I think that's noble. Italians love Italians. When Irish love Irish. But when a nigga loves a nigga, it's an unpardonable sin.
They have blood in their hands. When we say they have blood in their hands, we are not saying him, George Bezos, went and killed. But white people colonized us. They dispersed us. They enslaved our people. They sucked our economy dry. They are still sucking it dry even today. That's white people. Tony Blair, George Bush, Napoleon Bonaparte, Leopold, Adolf Hitler, Benjamin Netanyahu. All white people, they are the same. They are racist and they are full of hate.
I've been waiting for you. You have many questions, and though the process has altered your consciousness, you remain irrevocably human. Ergo, some of my answers you will understand, and some of them you will not. Concordantly, while your first question may be the most pertinent, you may or may not realize it is also the most irrelevant.
Why am I here? Our world is coming crumbling down. The coons are coming.
You got to understand that white America has an uncanny way of making the victim the victimizer. Excuse me, master, for putting my head in the way of your club. Not that your club is brutalizing my head and putting hickeys on it. My head got in the way of your free swing and broke your shiny stick, and I want to apologize for that.
Your life is the sum of a remainder of an unbalanced equation inherent to the programming of the matrix. You are the eventuality of an anomaly which, despite my sincerest efforts, I have been unable to eliminate from what is otherwise a harmony of mathematical precision. While it remains a burden assiduously avoided, it is not unexpected and thus not beyond a measure of control, which has led you inexorably here.
There are more connections in the human body than there are stars in the galaxy. We possess a gigantic network of information to which we have almost no access.
Matrix is older than you know. I prefer counting from the emergence of one integral anomaly to the emergence of the next, in which case this is the 6th version.
5 months before me. 3, 4. There are only 2 possible explanations. There were 5 months before me. Either no one told me, or no one knows.
Precisely. As you are undoubtedly gathering, the anomaly is systemic, creating fluctuations in even the most simplistic equations.
Control me! I'm gonna smash you to fucking kill you! You can't make me do anything like trick! Choice. The problem is choice.
Let us remember that we are not brutalized because we're Baptists. We're not brutalized because we're Methodists. We're not brutalized because we're Muslims. We're not brutalized because we're Catholics. We're brutalized because we are black people in America.
Because white people made him to be what he is. They made him to look evil, because that's their role, to make all of us black people to look evil and to hate ourselves. I can't hate.
You're a nigga till you die. If you're a poor nigga, you're a poor nigga. If you're a rich nigga, you're a rich nigga. But you never stop being a nigga, and if you get to be educated, you're just an educated nigga.
Well, I'm told every day I'm on air that I'm racist because I call out racism. That is maddening to me, and I'm crying about it because it's crazy.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is teaching you and I and trying to tell the white man to get this powder keg out of his house. Let the black man separate from his house. Let the black man have his own house. Let the black man have his own land and his own property.
I thought the bitch was white! Damn it! I thought the bitch was white!
That's true.
I think that white people are so guilty, knowing what they've done to black people, that they feel if the deeds were reversed, they would hate the black man if he had done the same thing to them. So it's actually, it reflects a guilt complex on the part of whites when they ask us, do we hate them? And if you notice, Uncle Sam has formed a habit of going all over the world. He calls it the ugly American, or the American image. He thinks that everybody hates him because it's a guilt complex. And if you think that if you are worried about Europeans hating you, and they're your allies and your cousins, well, naturally it would follow for you to think that Negroes in this country would hate you, especially in light of what has been done to black people in this country by white people.
Now, check it out. The white ball dominates everything, right? It knocks the shit out the yellow ball, the red ball, right? And the game's over when the white ball drives the black ball completely off the table.
But you have to see that all of this is hypocrisy.
I love Malcolm. Malcolm called me the Sunday that he died. I was working Basin Street East. He said, Brother Greg, you coming by today? And I said, Malcolm, I love you. And I said, I love you so much, I don't even want to take a chance to be there. He said, what do you mean, Brother Greg? I said, well, I close tonight, Sunday night at Basin Street East. And I said, but I had my wife book me a flight into Chicago at 8 o'clock this morning. And I'm going to Chicago, and I had way beneath my salary, booked me into a college about 10 miles from the airport. And I'm going to go there and speak this afternoon, and I'm going to stay there until they tell me you dead. Because I'm not going to let this government get 2 of us for the price of 1. And I'm going to call Adam Clayton Powell when I finish talking to you and beg him not to come there. Because today, the United States government is going to get you.